Hat, check. Sunglasses, check. Notes, check. Pepsi, check. Sources, check. Thick skin, check. Oh, and one more thing. 10,000 subscribers, check. Let's go! During this entire offseason, I was very concerned with Uncle Lou, a fellow YouTuber. Me and Uncle Lou get along. Yes, we trash talk back and forth, but for the most part, we do get along. But there was one thing that I was scratching my head, man, what is he thinking? What are you thinking, Uncle Lou? And he was high on Texas. He's been high on Texas the entire offseason. And I tried to tell him, Uncle Lou, you don't know Texas like I do. Even when they have a lot of talent, somehow, some way, they talk themselves out of being back. And you could tell that him trying to explain why Texas was going to be good this year was actually weighing on Uncle Lou. I mean, look at this before picture. You can tell this is a heavy load. Him trying to present a case for Texas being good this year. Now look at him after he's realized that Texas is actually not going to be back this year. He's a much happier person, you can tell. It's much easier to explain why Texas is not back. So I think even Uncle Lou is relieved that he doesn't have to explain why Texas might be good this year. Texas is not going to be back. But for whatever reason, he decided to go down that road that a lot of people like to go down, thinking that maybe Texas is back. I tried to get him help, but he refused, so I had to let him learn the hard way. And Texas was actually having a pretty decent offseason, but then this week happened. They accrued a lot of injuries. It comes out that Hudson Card is beating Quinn Ewers, and Quinn Ewers was supposed to be the savior of Texas. So once again, things are not looking good for Texas. The biggest problem with Texas is their culture. They've been going through coach after coach after coach. After they fired Mike Brown, all of a sudden the Texas standards were way up here, and Mike Brown was not meeting those standards. And ever since, Texas has not been able to find their way back. Although I did think that they had a great hire in Tom Herman. They had a 10-win season, and then they kind of took a small step backwards, going 8-5, but then bounced back, going 7-3. That wasn't good enough. They got rid of Tom Herman and made a lateral move at best by getting Steve Sarkisian. In fact, I think it's a step backwards. I think Tom Herman was a better coach than Steve Sarkisian. But once again, Texas is going to have to learn the hard way. They make stupid decisions based on the boosters and the higher-ups. They have got to get their hands out of Texas football. You're ruining Texas football. You're so obsessed with Texas being successful that you're actually directly contributing to the demise of Texas. Get your hands out of the cookie jar. You're hurting Texas. But you know what? I really can't blame Uncle Lou for thinking the way he was thinking, because it was basically everybody. Everybody was super high on Texas. Even myself, I was higher than what I was last year, but I had them going like 8-4. I didn't give them any chance of winning the Big 12. But I did have them winning more games than last year and getting to a decent bowl. I've even backed off from that. I think Texas might barely get to a bowl this year. I mean, I talked about their schedule yesterday. I only see four sure wins on their schedule. And that's UL Monroe, UTSA, TCU, and at Kansas. That's your only four sure wins. Everything else you're going to have to earn. And there's a lot of games that's going to be for sure losses. Like number 1, Alabama. Number 9, Oklahoma and Dallas. At number 12, Oklahoma State. At Kansas State. Number 10, Baylor. I think that's turned into a guaranteed loss. I had that as a 50-50 football game, but after thinking about it, seeing what's happened in the offseason with Texas, and looking at what Baylor's doing, I actually think that's also a guaranteed loss. So you're looking at 4 guaranteed wins. Now instead of 4 guaranteed losses, I have Texas with 5 guaranteed losses, in my opinion. So it's going to be an uphill battle to win those 50-50 football games just to get bowl eligible. And I know it's easy to hate Texas, and it's easy to talk trash about Texas. Love doing the horns down. I do it every day, at least once a day. But that's not what this is all about. This is about Texas making bad decisions and it coming back and biting them in the rear end. Talent is not the issue. Texas gets talent every stinking year. If you based your predictions on talent alone, Texas is a top 10 team every stinking year. But with Texas, it's not about talent. It's about culture and bad decision making. And that's why Texas is in the state that they're in right now. It's not good right now. But yesterday, I did see that Uncle Lou put a video out, and he has changed his mind about Texas. He's still giving them a chance to have a good year, a bounce back year, but he's not as high on Texas. So it took an injury intervention to finally convince Uncle Lou that Texas is not going to be back this year. They might be better, but they're not going to be back. Texas has to get out of their own way if they want to actually be back, and that just hasn't happened yet. Now, this is some unfortunate circumstances, and I'm not happy about it. I'm not, saying hooray, they got injured. I wish injuries on nobody. That's not good at all. In fact, I'd rather play people at their full strength. So that's not a good scenario. That's not a good situation for Texas. I'm not happy about it, but it just piles on to the problems that Texas is having right now. That's the last thing that Texas needs. And how competent of a quarterback will Hudson Card be if he actually wins the starting quarterback position? A lot of people were putting their eggs in the basket of Quinn Ewers. Looks like that might not turn out as well. And I know Quinn is a young man and he still needs time to develop, but the offseason, it was all about Quinn Ewers, and he might not even win the starting quarterback position this year. So I don't know what to tell you, Texas fans. This is not a trash talking video. I'm not trash talking Texas. I'm not trash talking Uncle Lou. This is just something that happens year after year after year with Texas. People get high on them because they do bring in a lot of talent, and their schedule isn't like the worst thing in the world. I mean, honestly, this should be a guaranteed 9-3 season or higher. But Texas is Texas. I just wanted to make this video saying, welcome back, Uncle Lou. I'm glad you kicked the habit of Texas. We've all had to learn the hard way not to be high on Texas. Y'all let me know in the comment section what you think about Texas. Am I wrong about this? Are they actually going to be really good? I doubt it, but I'll read your comments. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.